we were made to crave the truth. We were made to crave good, godly knowledge.
Hey, what's up?
Hello and welcome to the Pantry Podcast. This is week 2 and we're bringing you more Jesus, not junk food, but on every level. And this week, the level is mental.
Yes.
This week we're talking emphasis, although just like last week, it's going to end up being a little dabbling of all 4, but with the primary focus being on the mental aspects and how that impacts us on all of the levels. So here we go.
Yeah, man, it's just interesting that there's a battle being waged, right? Deception's being played out. An action that was at war with God. So actions, these wars, these warring, Adam and Eve sitting in the garden, and it's a war. And Satan's like, I'm coming to battle. I'm coming to win. I'm coming to fight. And you know what? To be honest, I don't know that Adam and Eve were ready for him. like in that sense of like they knew God, they had God, but it's kind of funny sometimes you see that Adam like God talked to Adam. God talks to me, I talk to my wife, y'all. I'm like there's something deeper here, yo. And I don't know what Adam was teaching his wife or whatever was going on, but we definitely see a serpent that's poised and a serpent that's ready to strike. And he strikes. And he strikes where? Here in our mind. Right? He strikes them in their minds. He starts playing this mental game with Eve. He's like, I'm coming 100%. Actually, he came 110 on this one. I'm kind of smiling, kind of laugh about this because it's a nervous laugh. Because look, he comes 110% at us too.
He knows how to trigger us.
Yes. And this, our minds are a huge battlefield that we need to prepare.
Yeah. Which, when you think about the armor of God and the helmet of salvation, salvation is protecting your brain. It is protecting your thoughts. That is supposed to be like the solid anchor of like, I am saved and things are true. Therefore, you're less permeable to lies. You're less permissive of unhealthy thoughts. Now, they still come, of course. However, the helmet of salvation is supposed to be something we think of, the salvation, the gospel, the truth, something that we think on to get the external stuff from getting in. Here's the thing, though. Here's why it matters what we consume. Once you consume things, once you accept them in, now a helmet don't protect you from your own thoughts. It protects lies from getting in. It does not protect you from thinking lies. So that is where a relationship with the Lord comes in. That's where having work and accountability and fellowship with believers that can offer spiritual counsel is so important. But yeah, the devil came to us first as humanity and was able to rob us of the Lord and his perfect relationship with us by promising something that would expand our mind. And to this day, so many sins are either to deaden the mind or expand the mind. That's the promise. It's still trying to tickle the brain to get that gray matter doing something. And so it's important for us to realize, I think no one's arguing that your mental state impacts your spiritual state. I really think, Kat, jump into episodes 4. There's only one that people are real defensive over because our tongue, which tastes yummies, gets real angry when you say the yummy it likes best is impacting your mental and emotional and a spiritual state. But coming back to mental, okay? Back to mental.
Okay, Kate. Come on.
But I just get so fired up about people who just can't. Anyway, mental. Knowing that, we need to know that. We need to know he comes for our brains. He wants to deaden and dull in our brain, or he wants to excite our brain with something that God didn't give us, he gave us. And maybe God would give us, but he wants to give it to us instead. And he wants to give it to us his way, which is what was in the garden. It wasn't probably like they would never eat that fruit, but things had to occur until before that. There were things in place, right. But God also knew that plan would never happen. Right. That the plan B was going to happen. Plan B was plan A.
And we never liked plan B.
Never. Just kidding. Except no judgment of you. as a person.
That,
But yes, of that.
oh, sorry, I'm about to get trashed because they're talking about. But no, if I had that little edit button, I was really good at this, and it went, and you said Satan met them, right? It was one of the first. It was the first thing other than God and the animals, right, that met them, that could communicate to them. And I'm sitting there thinking about that, like, not fast. Back to, that'd be so cool if we could do all that. But anyways, I'm thinking about that, and I sit there and I'm like, I'm so thankful that they existed before. I'm so thankful that David existed before me. I'm so thankful that Moses existed before me.
Yeah.
Are you getting my point here? I'm so thankful that Jonah existed before me. I'm so thankful that Elijah existed before me.
I'm so thankful
because I am
the
so
Bible is
yeah.
spelled out for me. Because
The
now it's all
playbook,
common
man.
sense for me.
Because now I can test everything.
Yes.
Yes, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, right? But test everything, hold fast to what is good. Right? And I'm like I hear these stories. I'm watching this mental gymnastics that's going on right there because, you know, when you get into the mental gymnastics, you can go all kinds of directions. Mm-hmm. You can get into the mental gymnastics. Like, I like what you said. You pull something in, it's wrong. Well, no, now I can mentally gymnastics myself back to God. Mm-hmm. Or I can mentally gymnastics myself down and spiral in, right? Yeah. Back, away from God. And I get consumed by what's going on. My mind starts, y'all, come on. Every single one of you, that in your mind sometimes is crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like my mind sometimes is just like all over the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes all I have is God.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
Because I'm losing
Yes.
this one. And it just testing it. But then like he gave me this playbook.
Yeah.
And watch. I remember walking around high school. Like during football season, basketball season, that stuff. And we had these little books. And we walk around.
Is it your playbook?
It's our playbooks.
Oh.
Because you study the playbook so that you know the what? Plays. It's like having a play or being in a play. I'll go theatrical with y'all. I can go anywhere, actually. I was pretty well-rounded in
the
high
newspaper,
school.
the stage. This man did it all.
You carry your playbook around, that playbook around to study lines and all that kind of stuff, right? You carry your notebook around with all your information so that when you go write the paper, you have all the facts.
Right.
So it's cool to have this, right?
Yeah.
It's cool to have the playbook.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm so thankful for the playbook because it just gives you what you need. Like it's so spelled out for us. It's almost like he gave us the fruit. You know, like he gave us the fruit. He's like, here's a version that you can handle, right? Because, you know, our minds are so susceptible. We were made to crave the truth. We were made to crave good, godly knowledge because then we would enjoy everything he would give us and provide and explain. However, that's been co-opted because of the sin nature. So we end up dealing with a Solomon situation. I think that's the best. My mind always goes to Solomon. He prayed to the Lord for wisdom and became the wisest man in the world. But he was, because of the sin nature, he was so in love with God's wisdom. But God's wisdom and the timeliness of it wasn't good enough. So he had to start getting external wisdom, which we still call wisdom because we lack another term for it, you know, to differentiate. But really it's things that are half true but still kind of work, which is witchcraft, right? Exploiting God's rules of the universe, extracting Christ from them, inserting demons with limited power into them, and then forcing things to occur. So by the time he was done with 700 some women that he had to hold himself to, many of which had many things going on, one of the world's most famous witchcraft books is called The Key of Solomon because it's been passed down and everyone knows that the man kind of got into some other kind of belief systems. So we know that we can end up feeling like God's wisdom is not enough. So 2 levels of mental. One, you're enticed by expanding the mental. And also your mental can do all these kinds of gymnastics to overthrow you and overthrow your good judgment, right? You can rationalize anything that you want. And I think that's one of the most dangerous things humanity has going for it is we can rationalize that we're right no matter what we believe. And that, I think, is one of the biggest dangers of the mental realm, because if you have told yourself a lie, if you're doing some mental gymnastics to avoid conviction, to avoid doing something hard or whatever, and that's not everyone, but if that's what you're doing, you can get down some dangerous roads. And you'll look back at the Lord and he's still faithful, he's still there, but wow, what a journey you then have to do.
I like how you tie Solomon in, and then you have Adam and Eve, right? Because there's one thing that was true in both their cases. I mean, come on, Solomon wrote Proverbs, y'all. I mean, like, hello. And then he writes Lamentation.
Or I thought Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes, sorry, not Lamentation. You're right.
That's our study.
That's our study. Yeah, we're in a study right now. That's really cool. But Ecclesiastes, and you see in his writing, he recognizes the mistakes, because even though he couldn't get off the track. Brother couldn't get off the track because he had buried himself on that track, right? It was like, and there was no stop. But at the same time, he still had one thing, and they had one thing going for them. They still had a fear of the Lord. Mm-hmm. However that looked.
Absolutely.
Maybe Adam and Eve was more of a fear. And I don't know how much reverence was in that one at the moment. But I do believe that Solomon had both, a fear and this fear of reverence, like a true, genuine fear, because he knew he wasn't walking right with God. And you see it in his writings. You see it in the challenges that, look, I read Proverbs, I read Ecclesiastes, and I'm challenged. I'm like super challenged. Like, maybe I need to quit thinking about the world so much. Maybe I need to stop letting the world come in and dictate how my mind thinks. Maybe I need God to come in and dictate how I'm thinking, to focus more on what's above than what's on this earth, right? And I think people are sitting there and be like, well, then you're just being stupid to what's going on in the world. And honestly, I'm not.
Right.
There is nothing new under the sun. Now, let me tell you something. It feels more wicked. It feels more wicked. There's things that come out that we just never saw before. There's things that we see that maybe we never thought. And things just keep compounding and compounding because, to get to the days of Noah, right? Y'all, the days of Noah.
They were rough.
Not one person on that boat other than his family. Okay, anyways.
It was rough.
Right, it was rough. And so if we look at that, I know that wickedness is going to exist. Mm-hmm. I have to go back to the basics. I have to go back to the idea that Satan is out there trying to kill, steal, and destroy. He's roaming around like a lion, trying to devour us. He's trying to isolate us. What greater way to isolate us than to divide us? And what greater way to divide us than divide us in a way that is of this world? And now we're starting to see it in religions as well, right? Because that is what Satan wants to do. If we took the simplicity of the gospel and we applied it to our lives every day of this love of Jesus Christ, how Jesus Christ comes in and rules our lives and our hearts, right? And we allow this to happen because we want to obey and be obedient, right? Mm-hmm. Then we shut off the spigots of the world and we start to see the necessity of what we really are here to do, and that's the gospel. But see, that's this thinking that even I struggle with sometimes. Because I want justice. Mm-hmm. I want, oh my gosh, when I see things that go on sometimes, I'm like, and then I have to catch myself. And one of the things I've had to teach myself, and this has really helped my mind and stop thinking about everything that's going on, because there is a lot, y'all. I get it. I don't like hell. And I know I wasn't even thinking about bringing this up, right, in this episode, but I don't like hell. I don't like people going to hell. They will, but I don't like it. And so I focus more on what Christ can do and the changes that Christ can do. And I Philippians 4:6. It's been my favorite verse here for the last few weeks or months.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm thinking of better things, greater things. Jesus is greater. Jesus is better. God is better. Jesus is greater. And now I become formidable in this world where everybody's like getting tied up in their minds. Because what mind tying does is it eventually drives us to one place, into our emotions.
Right.
And so then that's when he starts to come after us. And so really we need to, if we don't want to keep spiraling, right, and being impacted spiritually. So in this one, it's our mental, right, this war. We want to destroy those arguments up front and fast. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. And so our minds, the battlefield where Satan likes to play to drive us in other places.
I saw a post that was talking about the flip side of the power of like, what does your brain do when you're thinking about faith, right? And so it's from the Faith-Filled Therapist. I'm not co-signing. I have not checked her account, but this was great. So I'm shouting her out for that. Hippocampus activation, right? The more we recall a memory, the stronger and more accessible it becomes, reinforcing our faith. So it can also reinforce other things. It's whatever you think about. So that verse, whatever is good, whatever is honorable, you know, that's an important one. Dopamine release for encouragement and motivation. When you recall positive memories, your brain releases dopamine, linked to motivation and joy, and gives us encouragement and gives us confidence that the joy of the Lord is our strength. The prefrontal cortex engagement, so logical processing and perspective taking. So now you're reframing past difficulties and applying faith to reframe in light of God's faithfulness so that you see your struggles as part of a bigger story. Healing. Amygdala regulation, so emotional processing and fear reduction. Remembering how God has come through in the past helps regulate the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and emotions, reducing anxiety, increasing peace. So again, having faith in God and the peace that surpasses understanding. So all of these verses that he was sharing to us without having to spell it all out for us, because again, we want all the knowledge and he's giving us what matters. Here's some extra knowledge, some super nerdy, psychological, brain science wisdom that reinforces his very accessible and easy to have, which is accessible, very accessible Bible verses that someone that doesn't understand those big words could still understand if we would just trust his knowledge is sufficient without waiting for all the little footnotes to justify doing what he says.
I like that. And then depending on which way you go on that, drives you to several different kinds of emotions. And so in our next episode,
Emotions. See you next time.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things that help us get out to more people with the message of Jesus and not junk food. So you can see us at thepantrypodcast.com, at YouTube, and wherever podcasts play. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.